Hello everyone. So for today's video, I wanted to put together just a quick kind of get to know me video for a few reasons. One, I really like watching other people's get to know me videos, whether on YouTube or Instagram. And second, I've come to learn that I'm very bad at introducing myself or talking about myself. So I was talking to somebody probably for like 6 months back and forth on Instagram about gardening. And then they were like, by the way, can I know your name? And I realized I just never mentioned my name before or had it anywhere. So I figured I would put together a video. I pulled some questions just from like general get to know me lists that I found on Google or from other videos that people have done. And I figured I would give you a little bit more info about who I am. So these aren't necessarily going to be garden related. In fact, most of them aren't. But if you do have any like garden specific questions, definitely let me know in the comments and I will for sure answer them. I'm just, like I said, very bad at actually talking about myself. But starting off, first things first, hi, my name is Bethany. I live in Chicago, which you probably knew from the name Chicago Gardener, and I've lived here for almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years in May. I actually grew up in Northwest Indiana, maybe like a little bit under an hour outside of Chicago. So we always said we were from Chicago growing up whenever anyone asked where we were from. And then of course, people who actually lived in Chicago said, no, you're not. But now that I have been here for almost a full decade of my life, I feel like I can officially say I am from Chicago. And I am 35, turning 36 this year. So I moved here in my mid-20s. So it really has been my home for the majority of my adult life. I live here in Chicago with my husband and my 2 cats. And we just purchased our first home together 2020, beginning of 2020. So we're definitely here for the long haul. I love living in the city. Growing up in, kind of a more rural suburb, there's definitely benefits to that, but at least right now, at this point in my life, I can't imagine not living just in a city environment, and I absolutely love Chicago. I've traveled a bit for work outside to other cities, and I just haven't really found a place that is as great as Chicago. Although every winter, which it is right now, I do question why I live here, but it's great for the majority of the year. So I have a list of questions right here on my phone. A lot of them are kind of either or questions, a bit more open-ended. There's not a ton, so this shouldn't be a very long video, but I figure just, give a little bit more insight into who I am. And the first one I picked specifically because it is a large part of who I am, and it is dogs or cats. And I am 100% a cat person. If anybody knows anything about me, it's that they know I garden and they know I love cats. Like I mentioned, we have 2 cats right now who I know you've seen before, Penelope and Jack. We adopted them from the same shelter, but they weren't from the same litter. So they were from the same shelter. We got them at the same time. We've had them, I think they're both turning 6 this year, and we got them just a few months after they were born. So I don't know, I love them. My husband didn't grow up with pets, so it was his first time kind of having pets, but specifically cats. I grew up with cats my whole life, ever since I was born. When I was younger, we would have neighborhood cats that I would sit out on the sidewalk with and play with them. I was an only child, so a lot of my childhood was spent outside with the cats. And so ever since then, I've just kind of had a love for them. I do also foster cats here and there. We do luckily have a separate room where we can keep them separate from our 2 actual cats because they don't appreciate having uninvited guests in their home. But I feel like fostering is a great way, well, one, to help the organizations, but also, give me a little bit of exposure to new cats without actually filling my house with 20 plus cats, which it's what I would probably do if I had free reign over how many cats I had. But we're sticking with 2 cats for now. I do like dogs. I appreciate dogs. I had 1 dog growing up, but I just prefer cats. I think our personalities are just much more aligned. The second question I have is tea or coffee? And for me, it is both. So I always have a cup of coffee in the morning, not very large. I'm not a huge coffee drinker, but I have one every morning, and then I like to have tea sometime in the afternoon. And I am making a video on kind of what I'm planning for this year for a tea garden, so you should see that soon. But I absolutely love, especially now, growing herbs and plants in my garden that I can use for tea, kind of figuring out what mixtures I like the best, and it just tastes so much better than store-bought tea, even though I still drink a lot of that as well. But for tea or coffee, definitely I usually have both throughout the day. Favorite color is the shirt I'm wearing right now, which is pink. And I feel like when I was younger, I tried to not let my favorite color be pink because, you know, all girls liked pink and I wanted to be different. But pink is just the color that when I look at it, especially a bright one like this, it just makes me happy. So pink, I would definitely say, is my favorite color, although I like to have, especially in the garden, just as much color as possible. Have I traveled out of the country? I have, but not a ton. So the company I worked with 2 companies ago, and actually I should say that what I do kind of as my day job is digital marketing. So advertising on like Google, Bing, Facebook, stuff like that. And so 2 companies ago, I was actually training people on how to use Google AdWords. And what was really cool was this was a period of time, you know, single in my 20s. I got to travel 2 to 3 times a month to different cities in the United States. I traveled a little bit as a kid, but mostly to like Florida on vacation sometimes. But this was the first time going to just like a bunch of different cities around the United States. And so I got to travel a lot domestically. And then the company was also half in Canada. So we went to Canada a few times for some of the training sessions, some company meetings. I love Canada, but I would never want to move somewhere where it's colder than it is in Chicago. But Canada is really awesome, especially the Vancouver area where one of our offices was. So that's a really beautiful area. But other than that, the only place I've traveled internationally is to London when I was in college. And so I absolutely love that experience as well. But something I definitely kind of have as a goal for my life is to do some more international traveling. I really do, like I think I'd probably consider myself a homebody, so I do enjoy being at home, but I also want to get more of those experiences of just traveling to different places and meeting different people. So that is definitely something that I want to do more of in the future. If I could live anywhere, where would it be? So ideally, if I could like create my own utopia, I would pick Chicago up and I would put it somewhere warmer. So like the Chicago area with like Florida climate. I know this is probably going to be not a popular opinion, I love humidity, like absolutely love it. I wouldn't really want to live in a place with dry heat. So I wouldn't want to be somewhere where it's super hot, but I like humidity, I like warmth. So if Chicago was like 75 and sunny year round, that would be ideal. But like I said, I've traveled to like Los Angeles, New York, some of the larger cities, and I just haven't found a city that I really love as much as Chicago, or that is, you know, more affordable, at least comparatively to some of the other big cities. So I don't know if I would move any other place really than Chicago. There's just definitely some things I would change about the weather living here. But I also kind of like the idea, if I didn't live in a city, I feel like I'd want to go one extreme to the other, where I would just have like a small cabin in like a giant field of flowers somewhere and not really have anybody around me and get to escape for a little bit. But I really like Chicago. I really like just the places where we live. So yep, I don't think I would actually move if given the chance. Next on the list is a go-to fast food order. And my favorite fast food place is Taco Bell. And my go-to order there is always the chicken quesadilla. I would say probably, luckily, there's not a Taco Bell super close to where we're at. I mean, not super far, but I don't have a car. Our family just has one car. I work from home, so I typically go where I can walk. And there is not a Taco Bell in super close walking distance, so probably for the best. Morning or evening routines. And I do actually have a pretty set morning routine to my day. And this is something that, so back in 2020, when we all of a sudden had a lot more free time on our hands, I actually listened to a course. I think I'd seen people talking about it online, the happiness course or something about happiness, taught by a Harvard professor, and it was free on Coursera, the website Coursera. I don't know if it's still free. If it is, I'll look and put the link below. But I really do feel like it's one of those things that I've done that is going to change my life for the better for the rest of my life. So it really was impactful just as far as what is happiness, what actually makes us happy. And from that, I kind of developed a routine of things that I really like to do first thing in the morning that then kind of sets up the rest of my day. I don't always 100% stick to it, but I do feel like I've done a pretty good job of sticking to it. So basically my morning routine is waking up, making a cup of coffee, and that is the 1 cup of coffee that I have for the day, unless it's a day where I need more than 1 cup of coffee. And then I do a few apps. I actually have like a folder on my phone of all the apps that I do in the morning. And I'll actually just look at them so I don't forget. The first app I open up is Purposeful, and this was another free Coursera class that I was recommended from the happiness class. I think they mentioned it or mentioned the guy who teaches it. And then I took that class, which was much shorter, much more time efficient. So I'll link that below if I can find that as well. And then he has an app that's free if you take the free course. And you just kind of define like what your purpose is. You make notes kind of throughout the day. How are you feeling the day? What are the goals that you want to do for the day? And it just kind of gets me into the right headspace for what's to come for that day, which kind of ironically leads me into the next app, which is Headspace. So it's a meditation app. And I remember, geez, I don't even know, it was when I first moved to Chicago. So maybe like 8 or 9 years ago, I gotten like a meditation CD. So I was still listening on CDs, and a meditation pillow, which I still have. And I sat down and tried to meditate, and I think I lasted maybe 30 seconds before I was like, I can't do this, and stopped. Then a few years later, I was just feeling like really stressed out from work, as I'm sure most people do. And I had a friend who recommended a book about meditation. I should have looked up these names beforehand, but it was written by a guy who was a newscaster. I think he also has an app. All this is information below too. But basically it talked about the benefits of meditation. So I had heard about the Headspace app, I downloaded it, and I've been using it now for maybe 4 years. I'm almost closing in on 4,000 hours meditated, but I just do like 10 minutes a morning, and I try again to do it most mornings. It's not an everyday thing for sure, but I'd say like at least 5 times a week. And it is really kind of just amazing to me how much just sitting down for 10 seconds and meditating, and they're all guided, just made my mindset a lot better. I feel like I can deal with stress a lot easier. Not that stress doesn't happen, but I can deal with it a lot easier. I can identify and deal with my emotions a lot easier as well. So that's been really great. That's something I do every day almost. The next app I have here is Duolingo. So that is the language app. I just started this last January. So about a year and a month ago, I'm taking French on that. Je m'appelle Bethany. Don't know a ton yet. I don't think it's something I will become fluent in, but it's just something fun to do like for a few minutes in the morning to kind of get my brain going. And then I have a crossword app, the New York Times crossword app, and I just do like old archived Monday or Tuesday ones because that is the level of crossword I am at. And it also reminds me of just watching kind of my grandpa doing the crossword in the morning back when I was a little kid. So I like kind of incorporating those things that I remember from my childhood into my adulthood as well. And if you watched my like garden story video that I posted last summer, it was my grandpa's garden that really got me into gardening as well. But I like doing that in the morning just to kind of, I don't know, almost relax my brain a bit, because I used to, so I worked from home for 5 years, almost 6 years. So it used to be one of those things where I would get up and immediately start thinking about work, check my email, you know, start actually doing work, sometimes even before I got out of bed on my laptop. But having like a dedicated time of not doing anything work related, not doing anything until you actually get to your desk and open your computer there, that's when you can start working. And it really just has improved the quality of my life. Next on this list, I guess evening routine. This is something I would like to get more into because I do enjoy my morning routine, so I think a night routine would be nice as well. Ideally, what it would be is like winding down with some yoga stretches, and then I do have an app on my phone that, again, I try to fill out, but I don't always get to it because I'm not as set in a night routine, but it's called 3 Good Things, and you just write down 3 good things that happened today. And I like that too because it kind of lets you reflect on, you know, what's gone well, especially if it's been a day where maybe things haven't gone well, but trying to even find something good in a day that might overall seem bad just kind of reminds you of like how much you really do have. So I like that app as well, but again, I don't really have an evening routine that I stick to. Next on this list, I did include one that's kind of related to gardening and plants, but favorite houseplant and favorite plant in the garden. So I've mentioned this, I think, before, but my favorite houseplant is by far the string of hearts, specifically the variegated one because it is pink, and then also just any pink plant really does steal my heart, especially inside when you're not used to it. Out in the garden, I would say my favorite plant, I don't know, this is hard. I think I might have to go with Supertunia Vista specifically, just because I know that I love how they look, I love how they perform, and it's something that I always have in my garden no matter what. But as I'm getting more into different varieties of flowers, it really is hard to choose. And then the last question I have on here is, what is something about me that you wouldn't necessarily know, or something that might be a bit more unique? And actually what happened when I was 10 years old is that I won a year's supply of M&Ms. I don't know if you remember, if you're old enough to remember the gray M&M contest in the 90s, but essentially what was advertised is that if you opened up a bag of M&Ms and there were gray M&Ms inside, you would win $1 million. So on, was it my 11th birthday? I think I was 10 turning 11. And we'd opened up one of the larger bags of M&Ms that we were pouring into a bowl for my birthday. We were at the kitchen table. No one else was there yet. We were kind of getting it set for my birthday party. My mom tore open the bag, poured the bag into the bowl, and I'd say maybe like a quarter of the M&Ms were gray. And we were both like staring in shock. I think my mom said, oh, they must have made a mistake and like forgot to put the color on these M&Ms. I was freaking out because even at the time, I didn't know like what $1 million meant, but I knew it was a lot of money. And I was like, oh my gosh, we just won $1 million. Well, then we saw on the back, it says, you have to peel off a game piece. And then when you peeled off the game piece, that told you what you won. So we peeled it off and it said, I think instead of the grand prize, we won the first runner up, which was a year's supply of M&Ms. Now, again, me being a kid, that was even better than $1 million because that is a year's supply of free candy. So I was happy with the outcome. I don't know if my mom was as excited, but essentially what happened is they sent us a booklet. Well, we had to send in the game code. They sent us back a box of 365 coupons for a free bag of M&Ms at whatever store. And I still have one of the coupons. I think we had bags of M&Ms in our closet for years after that, and now to this day I really don't like M&Ms that much because I think I ate too many as a child. But I was recently, because I had found one of the coupons, and I was recently looking up kind of the history of the gray M&M contest, and there were actually newspapers, I guess some people had pulled off the game piece and didn't win anything. So you could have found gray M&Ms and still not won anything at all. So I do feel pretty lucky that we actually got some prize, and having a year's supply of M&Ms is definitely a highlight of my childhood since it's something that I remember 25 years later as something really cool that happened to me. So that's just a little bit about me. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments below and I will definitely answer them. I'll probably do like an FAQ question about things or FAQ video about questions that get a lot in my garden once it gets a bit warmer and I can like kind of take you outside and show you around. So if you do have any gardening related questions as well, but just any general questions about me, let me know in the comments and I will get back to you. So thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next video.